Hey everyone, welcome to the first introduction episode of the Jedi Circle. This one we're just going to do an overview of what you can expect in the coming weeks and what we're doing in this lecture series, as well as a bit of history. What you're looking at right now is one of the first editions of the Jedi Circle that was put out to the entirety of the Jedi community. And as you can see, it's been 10 years. This was put up on Jedi, capital Jedi, back in August 27th, 2005. And it's a little bit different than the Jedi Circle that a lot of people probably, if you have the book or you just maybe have read in passing, or if you've been to the Jedi Academy online or places like that. It's a little bit different. It's called Circle of the Jedi. That was the first name that I called it. But yeah, that has more words than necessary, right? So Jedi Circle it became to be. And the more known version ended up becoming here. We'll take a look at that. And this is the one that most people know about now. The thing with Jedi Circle is I've always been kind of tweaking it and working on it for 10 years, right? And even before I put it out, it's always been kind of a work in progress, just kind of going over a basic foundation of what it's like to live as a Jedi in everyday life. This is the version that kind of lasted the longest, and it has a few differences. One of the major ones is in the misconceptions. What we're going to do for the lecture series is we are going to go over the misconceptions first. It's just normally how I teach the Jedi Circle is I start with the misconceptions of the Jedi path, and that way everybody's kind of on the same page. It's just one of those things. Before we get into defining who and what we are going to take a moment and kind of talk about what we are not. So that's just something to keep in mind. We will be going through the misconceptions. The ones we have listed here are the ones we will be going through, and it is segregation, religion, compassion, Star Wars, and infallible. We'll probably be going through them in, actually, you know what? No, we'll be going through them in a different one. We'll probably tackle the Star Wars misconception first, and then probably segregation, religion, compassion, infallible. We're also going to add the Jedi Circle that I'm working on now. Instead of, I've removed the 5 misconceptions and instead replace them with the 5 goals. It kind of adds a continuation. It makes it more circular, right? When you go through them, you go through the practices, the tenets, the traits, the truths, and then you go into the 5 misconceptions. It's kind of an end. It's a broken circle. But if you replace the 5 misconceptions with the 5 goals, and we'll get into those, then it becomes circular because you can start right back up at the top. It kind of feeds into each other, and you can kind of tie each one into each other, and you can see how they all connect and how it is a continuous practice, a never-ending circle, if you will. But so we will get into that, and it's going to be an extra 5 lessons on top of these. But I figure for this video series, it's important to kind of touch on the misconceptions, if nothing else. We do need to go through that. So yeah, I just wanted to show those. And I don't know, we can kind of go over, I mean, since this is the introductory video and this is the history, that we can talk about when I first created it. There's some areas that people felt that were changed because people felt either they were redundant or they didn't like them. The majority of the Jedi community at the time in 2005 did not like strength as a trait of a Jedi. This was because at the time, the big debate was on physical fitness, and people really had a defensive view of physical well-being, and they kept trying to equate it to bodybuilding or military standards or things of that nature. So the idea of strength at the time was kind of, it wasn't right for the community at the time. But it was an overall thing. It wasn't just about physical strength, even though that was here. But it was an idea that Jedi are a pillar of strength mentally, physically, and spiritually, that people can lean on us in a time of need, and that we are strong within ourselves. We have a strong foundation that we can support individuals when they are going through a tough time in their life, because we have ours together, right? We are that pillar that they can kind of rest on or lean upon until they gather their own strength and move forward. Didn't make it, however. It did get replaced with a good one, though. It got replaced with patience, which definitely is a good one. Calmness didn't last. They felt it was, majority of the community felt it was redundant with peace and serenity up here. So calmness was taken out and instead was replaced with reliability. So, or it could have been this was reliability and this was changed into patience. Either way you want to do it. That's how the traits ended up changing out. So instead of strength and calmness, we had patience and reliability. Meditation, martial application ended up getting changed to physical fitness, and that was more fitting for what we were talking about. It is about physical fitness, physical well-being. It wasn't specifically about martial arts or martial application. That's kind of one facet of the overall topic we were talking about. So that was a good change that I really liked that we put together. The rest of that kind of stayed the same. The tenets is just a breakdown of the Jedi Code for anybody who's slick enough to already have observed that. Self-control was changed to self-honesty, just because of really how we explained it, right? Through self-honesty. And so it was like, well, if that's the first step, maybe that's the first place we should actually begin with then. So that got changed to self-honesty. And all the rest stayed the same. The misconceptions, the only two that changed was complexity, was actually changed to compassion, and righteousness was changed to infallible, and which was kind of in there already, but we kind of altered that just to it was just wording things. These are just things that get worked out as you share it. And that was the point of me originally sharing this back in 2005 with the entirety of the community, was to get that feedback and to kind of determine what changes work for it, what would be better for it, and how it would best relate to the entirety of the community. Because this wasn't just for myself. It was something I wanted to create as kind of a foundation and stepping stone into living as a Jedi in everyday life. And ultimately that did lead to the most popular version, the one most people know about. As I said, it's always going through tweaks, and I do have a new version now that has quite a few changes, but every Jedi whose opinion that I respect doesn't seem to like it very much. So yeah, it's been a lesson in ego for me, but it's something that I'm still working on, but eventually the Jedi Circle will alter once again, probably a bit more drastically than what we see here. But as we can see the changes. Self-honesty is changed. We have reliability. We have patience. Physical fitness. Diplomacy was changed, as you can see here. Where is it? Mediation. There it is. So a lot of people were having trouble with mediation and meditation and kind of getting them mixed up. So to kind of ease that confusion of words and again, just kind of make it more smooth, we went with diplomacy, as again, it was there in the description anyway. So, and it is a word with a broad term. So I really look forward. We're going to be getting into each one of these things, along with the 5 goals. We'll probably end on the 5 goals of the Jedi. But we're going to get into each of these topics every week. Now, this alone, it means 25 weeks, 26 if you count this week, and then another 5. So really 31 weeks. So we're not always going to hit it. Things are going to come up. I'm not going to be able to do a video per week. Sometimes I'll have to, put it on hold. Eventually, I'd like to be in a position where I have the time and resources to kind of put a little bit more work and pride, if you will, into these videos and kind of up the production value a little bit. In 31 weeks, who knows? Maybe these things will be really fun and interactive. But for now, this is what we have. So we're going to stop sharing that. And we're back. Okay, so so I created that back in 2005, and it was just something at the time. We were still working through definitions and the best way to kind of describe what a Jedi is and what we do in our everyday lives. And to me, the Jedi Circle just simply served as a foundation. And I was working through it with a person I was living with at the time, a person who was in the community as much as I was at the time. His name was Mendis, and we lived together, and we would often discuss it, and we kind of went through the debates together. And when I was, we went to the same websites and things like that. So I would share it with him, and kind of, and we kind of always worked through it and worked on like kind of building that core. At the time, I was also a big fan of the Jedi rules of behavior, and I wanted to kind of just grab those and kind of just run with those. But they're a great outline for behavior. They are really good for helping to direct a Jedi on kind of judgments on how to act and how not to act within daily life. But they don't really tell you how to live as a Jedi. And that was my thing. How do you live as a Jedi Knight in everyday life? How do you do that? What are the practices that we do? What is it that we focus on? What are kind of like the traits and truths that we cling to as Jedi, right? So we went through it. I ended up writing up the Circle of the Jedi back in 2004, and myself and Mendis kind of went through it a few times, and eventually it came to the standard that you saw in 2005, and I put it out there, and then ultimately changed as we looked at, as most people know it now. That's how it's listed in the Jedi Circle book, and it was really good. I think it's really served its point. I think it's really served its major concept on what it's supposed to be, and kind of like how it gets you to be a Jedi, right? Like the practices, what you're doing daily. It's kind of a daily reminder of, okay, you can use it somewhat as a checklist. You can kind of hold it up to yourself, and not only as a daily thing, but also as something that you can look back on as you're growing as a Jedi, right? So am I doing these things on a daily basis? If I am, if I'm not, like, where am I at in that? And if I'm floundering, why am I floundering on that? And as you go through it, you can look at where you were when you started to where you are, 2 years down the line. Or if you do take it a week or 2 weeks or even a month per point, per lesson to kind of really integrate into your life, you can look at, at the end of 6 months or a year, or again, 2 years, and see how far you've come and how that foundation has been laid, on your path. So I don't know. I guess it's biased. I like it, but I wrote it, right? So I mean, if I didn't like it, probably wouldn't be out there. But we will be going through it. It does, I mean, the history is not anything special. It has been around for 10 years, which I think is kind of cool. It's been around longer than some Jedi Masters. But in all seriousness, it's something that's lasted because other people have found it valuable, not just me. The reason there is a book is because it was requested, because people wanted a hard copy of it, you know. So people found it useful, and hopefully these videos, which will be a bit better than this one, a bit more interactive, will absolutely, you know, hopefully help you grow as a Jedi in your everyday life. And we are going to tackle things like meditation and physical fitness, and hopefully those videos, what I really want to do for those is provide you with examples and give you things to practice. So, you know, for meditation, yeah, maybe I'll sit here and yak at you for a little bit, but I would like to use some of that time definitely to give a meditation that you can use. Same with physical fitness, kind of, you know, throw out a 10-minute exercise to get your heart going, you know. So these are things I'm looking to do. Hopefully we'll get them out, but we'll be starting with misconceptions. And misconceptions really is kind of more just probably what you're used to with these videos, with screen sharing and me kind of, you know, talking at you. Hopefully we'll get, you know, some people in on that, some other Jedi, so they can add their flavor to it and add their opinion and get some questions going for you, so you can get more of a rounded idea of the concepts and the experiences that happen in the Jedi community, and not just, you know, not just me yakking at you. So I guess that's really everything. Overview. So you're looking at about 31 weeks, about an hour-long classes is basically what I shoot for. I'll try to get them under. If I can get them down to 30 minutes or so, I'll try to do that. That shouldn't be, depending on what we're doing, right? And how many people show up. It shouldn't be too difficult though, to really, when we're just talking on a singular subject. But yeah, so we'll shoot for 30 to 60 minutes, somewhere in there. We will cover all the points listed in the most known Jedi Circle, the current one that's floating around. And then we will get into the 5 goals of the Jedi as well, just because, again, it makes it more circular, and it really does offer a better kind of checklist and things that you can do in your daily lives, right? Those videos should be fun as well. If I'm not, hopefully, because that's probably going to be at the end, and I would like to maybe just take a camera out and kind of like show those in actions, not really do like this, but maybe just 30 minutes of just being out there and doing something, you know, for each of the 5 goals. I think that might be more, I don't know. Share your thoughts. If that's you know, leave a comment, you know, if that's something you'd like to see, if you think that would be better than me just sitting here yakking at you, then for sure. Also, if you have questions, anything about the Jedi Circle or any of the subjects within the Jedi Circle, right? You can read them there. I should probably leave a link. I'll leave a link for a place where you can read it. You can read the Jedi Circle, and if you have a question on any of those points, then leave them. And then when we get to that week or we get to that subject, we'll go ahead. I'll answer them and we'll go through them. And yeah. Also, you can jump in, join in on the videos here, and offer your questions that way. But you know, you have time, so read over the Jedi Circle. It's out there. You can find it. You know, a search engine will pull up a page or two that will have it listed. Which version I don't know, but yeah, you can take a look at it and see. Let's see. Hold on, we have a question. Look at this. Already got a question. Okay, so California Jedi Christopher Bird asks, do we have to wait until the end of the lecture series until we find out what the 5 goals are? Probably. It depends on which version I kind of want to go with too. The one I'm working on now. All right, so it's pretty simple. I guess I can, fine, why not, right? So you have the 5 goals of the Jedi. So it's well, I call it adroitness. Really, it's train diligently is the first goal, and that is the concept to train to be capable of fulfilling the goals and the duties of a Jedi Knight, right? So train diligently, or adroitness, however you want to say it. Render aid is another goal of the Jedi, which it can be interpreted in many ways, right? Render aid is kind of providing. Well, that's another one. So so rendering aid, giving to a charity, right? Doing a fundraiser, someone in need that you know maybe needs help moving, you can do that. The second or the third goal of the Jedi is to provide support. Sounds similar. It's a little bit different in the idea that support in not in like kind of the charitable sense, but more of the support in being the shoulder, or being the person that helps out, or being supportive, right? That's more the meaning. They sound similar, you know. Render aid, provide support. You could interchange them, but what we are talking about is being supportive, and then rendering aid, as in which can be fulfilled in a variety of ways. We have a lot of Jedi who are first responders. In an accident scene, they can render aid, right? For those that are not, what's the best thing you can do to render aid in that situation is kind of step back, not get in the way, and then maybe use your phone to call, or you know, to report an accident, things like that. But so you rendering aid, and then providing support is being supportive, okay? And then you have defend those in need, and again, that's it can. A lot of people take that to mean a physical defense, right? Like defending those in need. We think of lightsabers and you know, rescuing slaves on Tatooine and things like that. But it's defend those in need. Be a voice for the voiceless. Okay. There's plenty of people who could use someone in their corner, and it goes along with being supportive. But you know, defend those in need. Someone at school maybe hasn't found their voice, so you can defend them in the moment, right? You can be a voice for the voiceless, but then you can also be supportive. Fulfill two goals at once. Bam. You can take up a cause such as animal rights, or ecological rights, right? You know, there's plenty of animal shelters, plenty of great causes that can use a voice. And there's good organizations, and it doesn't hurt to add to those voices, right? But you can be a voice for the voiceless. So that's kind of the fourth goal. And then the fifth goal is discover the Force, or study the Force, again depending on which version you're using. Basically it's find your bliss, discover your sacred, you know, however you want to call it. It's defining the Force, it's studying the Force. Explore, experience, define. You know, it's just about kind of always having that focus in that area, and kind of finding your answers, so you're good. So yeah, so five goals of the Jedi: train to be capable of being a Jedi, render aid, provide support, defend those in need, and study the Force. So yes, you technically have to wait till the end of the series to find out which ones we're really getting into and how we'll get into them. But again, maybe I'll just do videos of me or someone or a Jedi, who knows, fulfilling them and doing that, and that just might be more fun. I don't know. Oh man, and I forgot to select and say I answered that. So I just answered that question in case you actually use this feature of the Q&A, and I messed up on that, so sorry, I apologize. So you're gonna have to back up for the past whatever 5 minutes I've been rambling on about that. Might have even taken me longer. So okay, so done with that question. Thank you, Christopher, for the question, by the way. But I might add a link somewhere in there too. I don't know. I'll probably, because I probably have to create. If you noticed on the pages I did share in the beginning, they're kind of old and they're off of they're kind of broken. You could still use them. They could still work. So maybe I'll add those. But I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there's a post on Jedi Living on our message boards that includes the 5 goals. So I might be able to put those in there as well. I don't know. But yeah, maybe, or you can just wait until the end of the series and discover them then. But either way, should be good. You can discover them. As I said, this stuff isn't hard to find. This isn't buried in stone. These aren't secret teachings of the Jedi. This stuff is not. This is not. I think it's even in the Jedi Circle book, the 5 goals, but under a different chapter, or is that a different book? That might be Exploring the Jedi Lifestyle. Who can keep this stuff? Who can keep track of this stuff, man? I don't know. But so yeah, we'll get into it. But yeah, I think any good Google search will get you there and find what you need. If it's not on JediLiving.com, maybe I should be able to put those up. If they're not up already, there should be a link somewhere on there, or on one of our social media sites. Who knows? I'll get it up. And I'll get the links up for you. That way you'll have it, and you can study along, and you can read along. Heck, go buy the you can be like Christopher. I know he already owns the ebook version of the Jedi Circle, so you can be like Christopher, follow along with the book and the video lectures. Get double training in, you know. Consider yourself an apprentice of Opie McCloud or something. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Don't do it to yourself. You're better than that. You deserve better. All right, I think we're done. I think we've covered everything. I think we're good. So again, if you have any questions on specific topics, feel free to leave them in the comments and we'll get to them when we do get to them. Or if it's a really good question, heck, I'm still going to do like videos every once in a while, like the Opie musings and stuff like that, where I'll just be yakking at you. So yeah, so you can certainly, anytime you have a question, feel free to throw it out. We'll get to it. We will not leave you hanging for the most part. Who knows? We travel around a lot too. Yay, Jedi Living. That's how we do. Oh, by the way, did you know California Jedi is actually doing a little rendering aid and providing support with a fundraiser? They're doing a fundraiser, and it's pretty cool. There's going to be links available on this video. There should be a little like thing. Is it here or is it in that corner? I don't know. One of these corners, it's gonna have a little icon. You should click on it, and it'll take you to the fundraising page. You should go and check it out because it's pretty freaking awesome. It's Jedi dressing up as Jedi and going and running in some Dagobah type training, and then raising money for a good cause, at the same time. So check it out. If you're in Southern California and you would like to join us and dress up as a Jedi and go running in the mud for a good cause, then yeah, you should join us as well. The information is there. Team name is California Jedi. So, all right, that's everything. We are wrapping up. Ooh, I think we're wrapping up in under 30 minutes. Pretty awesome. If we can keep to that, that's what I'm trying to keep these short so I don't bore you to death. But you know how I like to talk and ramble and digress and go off on random tangents because why not? Why not? So that's everything. We are ending this monkey before I start actually talking about things that I want to talk about, and then we'll be here for like 5 hours. So Jedi Circle, Tuesdays. Oh, that will probably change to Thursdays in February. Probably. That might change Thursdays just on a whim as well. Tuesdays or Thursdays. Stay tuned. You're going to have to pay attention when these things come out. Jedi awareness, you're going to have to keep your eyes glued to when we get these things done. All right. So we are done.